Hit. Brought to you by Capital Preservation Services, the tax planning team that helps business owners earn more and keep more.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Woo! All right, your SEC Insider Hit this morning is brought to you by the Reed House at Live Oaks Golf Club. And what a great place to play golf and a beautiful social and corporate event venue. The Reed House at Live Oaks Golf Club. Check it out. Tour it today. Highway 49 North. That's Live Oaks Golf Club. Show is also presented by Boar's Head. Delicious deli meats, cheeses, and hummus. Great for a charcuterie board for game day or to watch the election tonight. Boar's Head. If it's Boar's Head, then it's game day. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. We welcome in our friend Mike Detillier on the Parish Cane Break Brewing guest line, LSU Saints Insider, WWL Radio TV, New Orleans. Mike, we knew that LSU would be in transition. However, I think it's looked even worse than a lot of people thought. Are you surprised at the way they lost and the fact that they got blown out by a team in Auburn that up until Saturday was really struggling to find their way too?
Well, here's my deal. No one would have thought that they could repeat what they saw a year ago, okay? And no one would have thought it would be this bad, bottom line. So on the two fronts here, that you wish you could put your finger on it, but this is just my opinion, mine only. And I've said it for weeks now. Now, they got a lot of butt smoochers in the media that wanted to try to con me into telling me about, you're on the wrong side of this, about, man, LSU's defense is really playing much better. Anybody that saw that game, either you're delusional. And the first two questions for Ed after the game was, boy, you got to be impressed by the fact that, your defense got 2 stops right off the bat. 2 stops? Is that your question? About 2 stops in a ball game? Come on. You living in another world. This is not a good defensive team. And it's not about talent. And it's not all about coaching. It's about the fact that, and I've said this to you and many others, it's not about how you handle failure. It's how you handle success. This football team is still trying to live off the laurels of 2019. It's a mindset. And all of them are like that, so to speak. And I'm not just talking about players. They got coaches the same way, still living off 2019. Okay, you got to flip the script. You got to be able to turn the page, and it's a new year. They are not a very focused football team. They're not a football team that does the right things fundamentally. They don't pay the price off the field, in the film room, in the weight room. They're not doing that like the guys that had done it in, and setting up that 2019 year. They're not doing it that way. They're reading their press clippings about 2018, 2019. My thing about it is, I see it in the outside world, in private business, and I see it in the business you and I are in. You get a little bit success, and you forget about how hard it is to get to that point, how much time and how much effort it takes to be a champ. And you forget about the little things that made you great. And that's what's the issue at LSU. No leadership, nobody. This team, they had players cutting up and laughing on the sidelines of the game in the third and fourth quarter. That I didn't think I'd ever see that at LSU. Here's my deal. You'd have done that on last year's team, you'd have been confronted by a number of players who would not have put up with it. Who's the leaders on this team today? Okay? And that's not a coaching thing. That's a player thing. That listen, there comes to a point where you have to look in the mirror and say, you know what, it's me. And if I don't get better and do my job better, we're going to continue to do this. We all saw the movie, okay? And it's fictional, but it's true. It's real life. They've lost the eye of the tiger. They lost it. And now you got to get it back. You know, you got to fight and get it back. And it's about looking at yourself and saying, you know what, I didn't do all the things that got me to this point. And I've got to do the things right today. And I'm not only telling you this, I told this to the head coach. Because I think, Bo, that's the truth today. That, okay, you did miss a lot of people, and you were having a young team. And there were going to be some things that weren't going to go as well, not nearly as well as 2018, 2019, when you won 10 games in 2018. You were the national champs last year. But it wasn't going to be as smooth because you got people with very little experience and no shared experiences as a group. You got it now. You know what you got shared experiences with? You got your teeth kicked in. Not once, not twice, 3 times. You know, so how many more times will it take for you to understand that 2019 is history, and you got to straighten it out now? You can talk about, well, 2020 was a loss year. No, it's on your record. It's on your deal. It's on your resume. And everybody that signs, I don't care who you are, you sign on with LSU, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, A&M, you name it. These Southeast Conference schools, what's your biggest vision in life? Your vision is to play pro football one day, right?
Sure.
Because every one of those guys, when you talk to them about it, Bo, it's not even an if or an and. Their deal is, I want to play pro football one day. I want that shot. Okay, you want this on your resume? You want this on the film of this bad play? And so it's not so much a talent issue. It's, I think, an attitude issue for them. And being able to run on LSU, I understand sometimes north and south you're going to get a big game. But being able to turn the corner like Auburn did and like Missouri did, we're talking about Missouri now. Mississippi State didn't because they, they got 500 yards passing or 600 yards passing. They didn't have to. It's stunning, but you know what? This team has lost it. They lost that
edge,
inner drive, that eye of the tiger that they had for 2 years to try to prove to everybody how good they really were. And I hate to say it, but I see it so much outside the sports world too, and in the profession we in. People that, they get a little bit of success in life and they forget about what it took to get there. And it's all about them. Nobody else helped me get here. It's me. I'm the one. And you find out real quick when you come crashing down how quickly that this is all built around a team wanting to play together as one, not about you being who you are. And I think Ed's got to get that across to his football team very, very quickly. And sometimes you got to hit about as low as you can get before you find out what it takes. And I don't know how much lower you can get after taking that beating by Auburn. And so, you got it, and Gus, he kind of rubbed it in, and so be it. Hey, he had an opportunity to, and he did. And I don't blame him. He had some rough games against LSU, losing in fashions right at the end that were difficult. But this is unacceptable as far as LSU's concerned because you've recruited well. You've got a staff. Now, you did lose some people. You did lose Joe Brady. You did lose Dave Aranda. But you've got a big portion of your staff that returns from that national championship team. And, again, You can get caught up in the vortex of the outside world by everybody is telling you you great, you wonderful, you terrific, you on 60 Minutes, you got a book writing deal, everything else, and you forget how hard it takes to get to there. And that's why I think as a society we don't like to say this about something, but somebody's better than us. And everybody, I think, strives and looks at Alabama as the gold standard, which they should. But there's only one Nick Saban. Now, a lot of people will debate you on that. Oh, man, my program can be every bit as good as Alabama. Well, if it is, how come it hasn't? Well, it's the coach. Well, okay, you've changed coaches. How come you're not? We changed players. Why you not? There's only one. There's only one gold standard. And no excuses. You know what you're hearing excuses from today? The greatest coach in our lifetime playing pro football.
Yeah, Bill Belichick yesterday.
Just think about that.
Mm-hmm.
He has never made an excuse for anything. He's making them today. Because you know why? The guy that helped him put all them rings on his finger, he's in Tampa. You can say one man don't make a difference. You kidding yourself fully about what one person can do to make a difference. And that's what Brady did for him. And for the first time in his coaching career, he's making excuses for something. There's only one Saban, and you can strive to be as good as Alabama, but look how many coaches have been in the SEC graveyard trying to catch him.
Oh.
I mean, it's unbelievable how many of them have been there. And I think you can get caught up in that. And so, this next man up, which I talked about that. I don't believe in any of that next man up. That's great for the locker room, but that's not reality. And because we've all been in businesses where we lose key people who we work with. Are they fully replaced? They're replaced with someone else.
Right.
Ain't as good, bottom line. But we don't like to say that. We just, I think, don't want to admit it. And the same thing will happen in New Orleans when Drew Brees leaves. The same thing will happen. You got people now complaining, I hate these close games. Man, I just can't believe they can't finish teams off like they used to. What? Hey, get a life. I've lived long enough to see where Saints would lose games like they did against the Bears.
Amen to that. Me too.
But they spoiled rotten Cowboy fans. Oh, the same way. Next man up when Dak goes down. Oh, really? Yeah. Oh, yeah. You got next man up. You got him all right. So explain that to me. When Rod Marinelli left as the defensive coordinator, we got a great one. No, Mike Nolan's a good coach, but Rod Marinelli was different maker, So it does go to show you in life that there are some differences in people and how talented they are. And LSU's finding out. It's not about talent. It's real, because, come on, all these guys they all 4- and 5-star recruits. They're some of the best of the best. But it's an attitude, and it's an attitude you lost from one year, and it goes to show how quickly it happens. Just how quickly it can happen in life. When Joe Paul, left Penn State, and all that swirl of controversy and everything else that was happening, it was, we bring the right guy here, he'll win just as much as Joe Paul did. Oh, really? Has James Franklin won like what Paterno did? Come on, you kidding yourself? That Jim Harbaugh was going to put his hands on a Michigan team and it would all turn out well. Now you got a national guy on Fox that blew his trumpet every chance he could. Where was his commentary yesterday about Michigan losing to Michigan State and a rookie head coach at Michigan State? Where was that? You don't hear that. Or what's going to happen the first time USC gets beat? You know, what's going to happen with that? Or the Tom Herman and listen, they all go through it. You know, it's an attitude across the board where you can see that, Texas fans, they still dream of those Darryl Royal days, or when Mac was winning with Vince Young,
Mm-hmm.
or Oklahoma was winning with Switzer. Okay, that's not happening. It's just not happening as far as national championships are concerned. So I do think LSU is looking at the reality mirror and finding out that you lost it a little bit. You took a lot of pats on the back in the off season. And yeah, you can say we lost a lot of people and we lost some coaches and we weren't going to be as good. Yeah, everybody knew that. But get beat like this? And it's not just once. Remember the opening game? You lost to Missouri. Okay? So, for LSU fans, I think it's the reality check. And you've been hoodwinked a little bit by people trying to con you into that, man, this defense is coming around. Man, you saw how they played against South Carolina. South Carolina missed 3 field goals. You had a touchdown on a kickoff return back, and you had a pick 6. Explain that. So I'm just telling you, if that they don't get a check on this quickly, if you think the beatdown Auburn put to them was bad, Nick Saban's got a long memory. He remembers what happened last year, and that LSU beat him on his own turf. And after the game, LSU players, and listen, they were running up to recruits. Hey, come play at LSU. So Nick's going to never forget that. Believe me, never going to forget it. And he's not going to let his team forget it. And what you're seeing at Alabama, Bo, you and I ain't going to live long enough, or anybody else listening to this program, they're never going to live long enough to see it again. I mean, it's a once-in-a-lifetime happening. What happened with the Patriots in the NFL?
Oh, man.
Prior to this year, you are not going to see again in your lifetime to see that type of run to be not champions every year, but in the hunt every year is remarkable. And that's about hard work, dedication, and also, too, about players and leadership. And which you don't have with the Patriots today. You don't have enough players and leadership that went out the door.
You nailed it. Brady made sure that everybody was where they need to be and showed it Joe Burrow. That's a great point.
Yeah, and listen, and Joe wouldn't let anybody get out of line.
Right.
And neither would Lloyd Cushenberry at center. And neither would Rashard Lawrence. And neither would Patrick Queen and Jacob Phillips. And Grant Delpit, he didn't have a great junior year, but he was a leader back there. And so it does go to show you to lose key components like that from a leadership. And that's what I think all of us miss, including myself. I think we didn't gauge how much losing not just players, but having guys that are leaders and accountable for what we're supposed to do as, yourself, but also what others are supposed to do. I think we misfired on LSU that way. I think all of us did.
Mike Detillier, LSU Saints insider, WWL Radio TV New Orleans. Mike joins us on the Parish Canebrake Beer guest line. LSU has a week. Mike was talking about this. LSU and Bama have a week off, and then they'll play in Baton Rouge. And I think Mike probably agrees with this, that Saban and Sark will probably name their number that day because of what Bama's doing on offense. By the way, Mike, real quick, I know it's early, but Bama, Clemson, Ohio State, who's your is Bama your favorite, or do you like Clemson or Ohio State better as far as the college football playoff?
I've always thought Alabama would be the national champs to start the season, and nothing I've seen's made me change my mind. Just think, but I didn't think Mac would play this well.
Me neither.
And I think he's the most improved player I've seen in the Southeast Conference. From what I saw a year ago, he's a much more confident player and a leader and a guy that, he's got that it factor about him that, he makes it work. He's never going to get the credit he deserves because of who he followed. Okay, Tua was the guy, but he's doing a fantastic job. I think Alabama, to me, would be the hardest team to beat when they got it rolling, especially on the offensive side of the football. Clemson brings back a lot of people and the best player in Trevor, but, man, they've had their moments where it's been a lot of kind of roller coaster across the board with them. Ohio State's an intriguing team, but, boy, they lost a lot of key pieces from a year ago. And so I think, to me, Alabama is still the toughest hurdle for anybody to have to deal with, and also a very driven team that I think, I hate to say this, but they were embarrassed they lost 2 games last year.
You're right.
I think they were embarrassed about it, and their deal is this ain't happening again, and we're going to win it all. Yeah. You can talk about Clemson all you want, and you can talk about Ohio State all you want, but, we still the guy. And I think they were driven by those 2 losses to LSU and then to Auburn, that this ain't going to happen again. And so it's an interesting little twist, but you can just see it, that this football team is a very driven team to show everybody that what you were writing and saying about, and even the most ardent Alabama fans saying, man, 2 losses, this is the end of the Saban kind of run. You might want to write that with invisible ink.
Mike Detillier on the Out of Bounds Show. Mike, I got about a minute and a half. Just real quick, Notre Dame or Clemson without Trevor Lawrence?
Man, I think it's close. I think Clemson wins it.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you. I just, man, the speed of Clemson, I don't know if Notre Dame can match that. The young kid he took his lumps. But you know what? At the end, he found a way to win. Listen, I don't care about style points.
No.
That's ridiculous. Just win. Find a way to win. And I give Dabo a lot of credit. He's done it a few different ways. Found a way to win. And I think he finds a way to win this weekend over Notre Dame.
30 seconds, Florida, Georgia.
Man, that's a toughie, but I'm going to go, I think, with the better offensive team, and that's Florida. And I want to see how they match up against Kyle Pitts because, again, I'll bring this up every time. Georgia will play a team that can score. You hear about their great defense, and they give up 40 points. I'm going to go with Florida.
There we go. Mike Detillier, at Mike Detillier on Twitter, WWL Radio TV New Orleans. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Bo.
He's the dude. He's got dude qualities. Super guy, and does a great job every Tuesday on the show. That was fun. LSU, they lost their edge. That's that culture piece. Now, Ed will have a chance to get it back in the offseason, but they're not getting it back this year. And they could lose out. I mean, look at who they're playing. Bama, Arkansas, A&M, and Ole Miss. I mean, you would think they'll win one, but holy Mary Olzap. Hour number 3 coming up. The Out of Bounds Show is brought to you by the charbroiled oysters at Drago's Seafood Restaurant and Oyster Bar.